Hi, and welcome to my YouTube channel. My name is Dr. Tolu, and today we are going to be talking about 5 things to know about ovulation. Now, if you like what I have to say, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, and leave a comment for me letting me know what you really think about the video. And if you have a topic you would like me to discuss in the future, just leave it as a comment for me and I'll do my best to get to it in the nearest future. Alright guys, let's get straight to it. Alright, so the first thing we are going to be looking at is what is ovulation, right? Because to understand things about ovulation, we first need to know what it's all about. Now, the average healthy woman, when she's born, is born with millions of immature eggs in her, right? And then what happens every month is that a mature egg is released by her ovary. Women, when they hit a certain age, they start to menstruate. That means they start to see their period, right? Now, ovulation is linked with a woman's menstrual cycle, and it is that point in a menstrual cycle where a mature egg, usually one egg, but sometimes it can be multiple eggs, but usually it's one egg that's released by her ovary, and that process, that occurrence is what we call ovulation. Now, number 2 on the list is, when does ovulation occur? Now, the average woman has a menstrual cycle of between 28 to about 35 days. But let's say for a woman with a menstrual cycle of 28 days, usually ovulation occurs on day 14. That is like 14 days before, the next period starts. For some women, ovulation might not be regular, especially for women who may have irregular periods, or some women may not even be ovulating at all, maybe for women who are on some kind of hormonal contraceptives. But then generally speaking, in the average healthy woman, this is the period when ovulation occurs. Now, the third thing we are going to be looking at on the list is, how long does ovulation last? Ovulation is when a mature egg, like I said, is released by the ovary. And now when that egg is released, it has the potential to be fertilized within 24 hours. Now, this does not mean that if a woman does not have sex within that 24 hours, that means she's not going to get pregnant or the egg is not going to get fertilized. No, that's not what it means. And there are several reasons why you can have sex even up to like 4 or 5 days before ovulation and still get pregnant. In fact, when we talk about the period of a woman's optimum fertility in a menstrual cycle, it's usually not a day, right? It's usually about 4 to 5 days before ovulation and then the day of ovulation. So that gives like a period of 6 days where the woman is considered to be at a highest level of fertility. Now, we know that when a man has vaginal ejaculatory sex with a woman and releases or ejaculates inside her, the sperm that he ejaculates has the ability to live inside the woman for 3 to 5 days, right? Even that's up to 5 days, you understand? So that means if a man has sex with a woman 4 or 5 days before ovulation, his sperm can still be in her, and then when that mature egg is released, fertilization can occur. This is for those who are trying to conceive. It doesn't mean that because ovulation occurs on a particular day, that is the only day to have sex, right? To be honest, women can get pregnant basically at any point in their cycle. It's just that your chances of getting pregnant are much higher around the period of ovulation, right? And so what you should be targeting is to start having sex, vaginal unprotected ejaculatory sex, at least like 4 to 5 days before the day of ovulation, and then on the day of ovulation, because that period, that 5 to 6 days, is your period of peak fertility as a woman of reproductive age. Now, number 4 on the list, the 4th thing that you should know about ovulation, I'll put it in the form of a question, and this is, does ovulation come with symptoms? And the answer is yes. Now, when it comes to ovulation, right, different women have different symptoms, but then there are some symptoms that are seen more commonly than others, and those are some of the symptoms that we are going to be discussing today. So the first thing we are going to be looking at is the woman's basal body temperature, or BBT, right? What we've noticed with ovulation is that when a woman is getting to the point where she ovulates, there's a dip in her body temperature, and then after that dip there is a sharp rise in temperature, right? So if a woman notices this changes in temperature, then she can know, especially if it's occurring at the time where she believes she's supposed to be ovulating, then it is possible for her to know when she's ovulating, right? So that is one of the symptoms that we see. The other thing we notice is the cervical mucus of the woman changes around the time of ovulation. So the cervical mucus becomes stretchy and clear, and the reason why it changes this way is so as to help the sperm released by the man into her when they have sex around the time of ovulation, to help the sperm to swim more readily towards the egg. So basically that change in cervical mucus is your body assisting the sperm that is released by the man to get you pregnant. Another symptom that we may see is some degree of breast soreness or tenderness. Now the reason why there is some soreness or tenderness around this time is due to changes in the hormones in the woman's body, right? Usually the hormones progesterone and estrogen. So this hormonal changes because during the time of a woman's cycle we have highs and lows, dips and rises in different hormones, right? But the two major hormones that come to play in this period are, estrogen, progesterone, right? There's also, luteinizing hormone and some other ones, but then this changes in hormones are what will be responsible for the breast soreness or tenderness that the woman may have during ovulation. Also, and this is something that many women notice, is that their sex drive around this time increases, right? Some women may even also experience some degree of nausea, right? They feel a bit sick, and some women may experience headaches as well. And another thing that women commonly experience, and I feel is not talked about enough, is ovulation pain. Now this ovulation pain usually comes around the time of ovulation, and it's usually felt on either one or the other side, right, of the woman's loin area, right? And the reason, or not just loin area, it may also be like an abdominal pain, or for some women it's like lower abdominal or even almost pelvic pain that they experience. Now usually this pain is a dull pain, but sometimes it can be a sharp pain like a cramp, right? This pain is not supposed to be a very serious pain, right? Some women will tell you that it feels like a cramp, but then as with all things there is a spectrum. So while for some women it may feel like a mild cramp, for other women it is a bit more significant than a mild cramp, right? So it could be dull, it could be sharp, but usually it does not affect both sides of her body. It usually is felt in the ovary that is releasing the mature egg in that month. Now for women who experience ovulation pain, what you can do to relieve the pain is to use painkillers, right? You can use over-the-counter painkillers, right, to help to reduce that pain, or you can use maybe a heating pad or a hot water bottle and then place it around the place where you have pain. And then also during that period it's usually good to get some rest, and you might want to engage in some light exercise, but don't do anything too strenuous because that may even worsen the pain. Now the fifth thing we are going to be looking at is also in the form of a question, and that is, can ovulation be predicted? Ovulation is where you have your highest chance of getting pregnant. Now like I've said, your fertility period is like between 4 to 5 days before you ovulate and then the day of ovulation, but then your peak fertility period is usually about 3 days before ovulation and then on the day of ovulation. So it's very important for those who are trying to conceive to be able to monitor ovulation, to know exactly when it is that they're ovulating. Now I've talked about basal body temperature as one of the symptoms of ovulation, right? So tracking your basal body temperature, the changes maybe in each month, can help you. By the time you track it for months, you will be able to see a pattern, right? Especially if you are someone who has a regular period. So you're able to see the pattern, and then you can know, using your basal body temperature, the rough period where you ovulate. And then it's important to meet with your partner during that time and have vaginal unprotected ejaculatory sex. Another way that you can monitor ovulation is to chart your menstrual cycle, menstrual charting, right? What this simply means is a bit similar to basal body temperature charting, which is when you are checking for the period where your basal body temperature experiences that dip and rise. But with menstrual charting, what you're charting in this time is your menstrual cycle, right? You are charting the different things that you need to know about it. Now with basal body temperature monitoring and with menstrual charting, those things are not as dependable. Many times for many women, they're not as dependable as these other two methods I'm going to talk about now. And these two methods that I think personally I would recommend as more dependable when it comes to monitoring ovulation, especially in women who have a regular menstrual cycle, are these two methods: monitoring ovulation using an ovulation kit and then using a fertility monitor. So these two things are quite similar. With the ovulation kit, what it does is that it tracks your ovulation, right? Just like the name suggests. And the way it does it is that it usually comes in the form of like a strip, and then it requires you to urinate on it. And then, because there are different kinds of ovulation kits, right? But roughly the way they work is that they require you to urinate on it, and then a line appears after you urinate on it. Now you compare that line that appears to the line usually written somewhere on the back of the box of the ovulation kit, and then using the line, you are comparing the similarities between both lines to see if you are ovulating. Now the way it works is that when you urinate on the strip, what it measures is something called luteinizing hormone. It watches out for a peak, that means a rise in that luteinizing hormone, which can be checked in your urine, which is why you're urinating on the strip. Right now, because we know that ovulation usually occurs about 10 to 12 hours after that peak in luteinizing hormone, and that usually happens around day 14 to 15 of a 28-day menstrual cycle. So basically what that ovulation kit is doing is that it's tracking that luteinizing hormone, because it knows that if it sees a peak in luteinizing hormone, then ovulation is not so far away. Ovulation is most likely going to happen within 12 hours of that rise in luteinizing hormone. So usually there you may have maybe about 5 strips, right? And then you are urinating on them regularly, maybe with each day, and then it is tracking luteinizing hormone. So when it notices that peak, that line tells you, and then you know that okay, ovulation is likely to occur around that time. That's for the ovulation kit. The fertility monitor is another device, and the way this works is that it is not just measuring for ovulation, it is checking for your most fertile days. So these two methods, the ovulation kit and the fertility monitor, I believe are a bit more accurate than say checking basal body temperature or menstrual charting, especially for women who have a regular menstrual cycle. Now for women who do not have a regular menstrual cycle, it will be important for you to see your healthcare provider, right? Because if your menstrual cycle is not regular, then it may be a bit more difficult to be able to chart your ovulation. And then more importantly, you need to find out why your menstrual cycle is irregular, because once you can find that out and then you can tackle the problem, then it increases your chances of you solving that problem and then in return having a more regular menstrual cycle. Alright guys, so I hope you found this video useful. So if you found this video useful, please hit the like button, hit the subscribe button, leave a comment for me telling me how useful you found it, and I'll be happy to read your comments. And if you have questions, you can also leave them in the comment section. If you have suggestions about topics you would like me to discuss in the future, also leave them for me in the comment section and I'll do my possible best to get to them. Alright guys, thank you for watching till the end. Have a lovely day.